Recording is on.
Don't forget half of it.
If you didn't hear, Pro Bono, he started the recording.
Yes, I see the recording is running. So do we have an agenda, or should we just start presenting what we would like to show today, or how do we proceed?
Usually I go around the table and have everybody just say what they're doing. Kind of like a stand-up, I guess. For me, I have been working on implementing a couple of classes. I've been implementing other palettes in Gorm, as well as making Gorm fixes lately. Um, I've also been working on, as weird as it sounds, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with NSDiffable data source.
No, can you say that again? I didn't catch that.
NSDiffable data source.
It has difficult data source?
Diffable.
Difficult.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, that sounds interesting, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. If you search, it'll come up with some interesting results. I mean, what it is it's a data source that you use either for NS Table View um, or NS Collection View. And the idea is that if you change it, you add something or subtract something from it, it will allow you to animate the changes. Um, now, whatever primitive, animation GNUstep can do. But yeah,
That sounds very interesting, and I already have an application for that in mind.
ah,
So there already documentation on this somewhere?
yeah, not in GNUstep, not yet, but in if you search it on the web, you should see it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Cool.
And I guess I don't have anything visually to show this time. I have the last couple of times. But yeah, that's what I've been working on.
We do Pro Bonos would be the longest, I think. I have just 5 minutes to show the browser if we have time.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Pravon.
All right. So
I
let
think
me.
I was just gonna say I think Lars should be back in a minute. I don't know if we want to wait on him or just we can go forward to it. It's up to you.
Yeah, give him a second. Give him a second to come back.
All right. Yeah, all I'm about to show is not only my work, but is the work of Joe and myself. So just to say that up front. And also everything we are going to show, please don't judge us on how things look optically right now, because really the focus on our last 4 weeks has been on functionality to get some key infrastructure in that we need also for our own further work. At least for me, I'm now officially on GNUstep as my daily driver, and all of the development of the stuff that I'm going to show is happening on GNUstep, actually on a Raspberry Pi 5. And yeah, that is a very pleasant development environment.
Well, just to add to that, I'm also I have a Pi 500 Plus set up with an install that I mostly use for daily driving now. But I
Ah,
am on a Mac today where I'm gonna export to show a few things that can't be shown, like such as the login window.
hmm.
we can't really show the login window if we're in a video conference unless I export.
Okay, well, I don't think we know when Lars is going to be back, so if you guys.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back? Okay, good.
Hi, Greg. Are you fine?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
okay.
recording and he's ready to kick it off.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pravana, with whatever you want to present.
All right, sure. So the first thing I would like to talk about is app image. I hope you can see my screen. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. So in one of the last meetings, there was a little discussion around making GNUstep applications fully self-standing for Linux so that you can share just one file to your users, and then the user who has no GNUstep installed can just use that one file, make it executable, double-click it to run GNUstep applications. And I'm happy to say that we have the proof of concept for that working with one first fully self-standing application, which bundles all of GNUstep, or at least the parts that this particular application needs. And it also bundles all of the dependencies, so all the libraries down to the LD Linux loader and glibc. So that means it should run on practically all Linux systems, all distributions, including those that use muzzle libc and stuff like that. So it should be really quite portable across distributions.
It
That's
might even run with FreeBSD with the compat right? Since it's fully bundled.
It should be possible. Actually, I haven't tried that yet. I mean, I have tried that with other app images, but not yet with that GNUstep one. But good idea. To
And
try
it
that out.
is the app PicoPixel you said?
Now you said it. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to give it away. I just
Since
said it
the
was.
author of the application did a significant portion of the work, I didn't really. I wanted to leave that up to him to talk about it and make that known. But yes, I mean, indeed, we talked about that in the last meetings, and it is PicoPixel indeed.
Awesome.
And just to say that everything comes at a cost, of course. PicoPixel on its own is around somewhere between 5 and 10 MB, I think. And after bundling all the required GNUstep parts and all of their dependencies, the app image is 50 MB roundabout. So there is a cost, but still, if you compare that to many other applications, yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not so bad for
A lot
given that
of
it's completely portable.
Windows apps like Chromium that could consume a gigabyte on disk. So
Okay, so the idea here is, and there were actually a few little patches here and there necessary in GNUstep. We are still collaborating here on either finding a way to do it without those patches, or should they be required. Of course, we would like to engage with you guys to potentially upstream those changes. And also, I mean, it would be entirely possible to integrate the whole app image making process into the GNUstep build scripts so that anyone who makes GNUstep apps would have a very easy way to then convert them into app images. Okay, so do you have any questions regarding this? Otherwise, I would jump to the next topic.
It's the question I have, could this also be made possible to have apps that run on Linux and Windows at the same time this way?
So yes and no. It depends on what you mean by Windows. So theoretically, there is WSL2 on Windows, which is able to run Linux applications and which is also running app images just fine.
well, and there's
I'd say
also
theoretically at this moment because since one of the last Windows updates, I think there was some change in the display server, and now it's using Wayland, and somehow the GNUstep applications and Wayland, I couldn't get it to work properly so far. So that requires looking into it a bit more.
I've been looking at MSys2 as well and bundling some apps that way. I think one of the challenges we're going to run into at least what I'm seeing is that, a simple app like System Preferences would be easy to run. And in fact, there's been installers for those things in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. But I found like executables for Project Center and Gorm, and it looks like System Preferences would be able to run. But things like Workspace have requirements like libpng that are not available in the Incest2 Pacman package format. So it might be difficult to bootstrap some of the dependencies depending on what the app is for that environment.
Yeah, so in case you're not totally aware how an app image works, it is basically a compressed file system image, like a disk image, using SquashFS in this case with C standard compression, that has a tiny little fuse-based runtime embedded, which mounts the thing and then executes whatever is inside the compressed file system image.
That's a good
And
point. That's another layer that would more easily work in WSL than like an Incest2. That'd be quite difficult.
So that layer is working in WSL2. The only issue right now really is with Wayland, and yeah, I tend to blame Wayland more than anything else for that, but I didn't spend a lot of time on that so far at all.
Right. We could also build GNUsteps using the Wayland backend, but some fixes would need to be made for them to work properly.
Right, that's also something I haven't tried yet. Good idea.
Maybe we should work on the Wayland backend for GNUstep, because several distributions are switching to Wayland and leaving X11 in the afterburner. Like, I think Ubuntu switched to Wayland. I don't know if they have still X11 available.
The packages are still there. They've just shut off the default shipping ISO experience for the desktop. They made it, GNOME and other desktops are just going Wayland only by default. But you can still get an X server on those distributions, and you can of course use X Wayland, which I don't know if X Wayland might be an option for WSL2. With X Wayland, you can run X11 apps on Wayland in an X server.
Yeah, the thing is with Wayland, it's a more a policy and also philosophical thing. See, if you look at a Pico Pixel, it's a multi-window application, which implies that you want some control over where all of those windows go and into which window the input goes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So
Wayland
even if it were native, you still have that problem
similar.
because Wayland doesn't solve that problem yet.
So the people driving Wayland seem to operate under the assumption that every application is just one window.
Okay, that's the problem.
That's a big problem. And they don't support global menus either outside of KDE.
Did somebody already talk to them? Are they like have they strong opinions on this?
Oh, they have strong opinions on everything. For example, just give you one example. You usually can set an icon on a window, and the application can define that. So take an application that opens 3 windows and wants a different icon on each of those 3 windows. That's possible in all graphical environments I know, but until recently, not in Wayland. And that discussion went on for months and months, back and forth, even years, I guess.
Oh God.
And right now what they are discussing is whether to allow applications to decide, or no, not decide, whether to allow applications to suggest to the compositor at which location on the screen the window should open. And so far, this discussion really has been going on for years and has hundreds and hundreds of people saying we need this. And so far, they are completely saying no.
Fuck.
Yeah, very much like global menus as well.
Global menu.
So you can't say that Wayland is a replacement for X11 completely until now.
No, it's a new solution, really. I mean, it's not it's not a one-to-one replacement for sure.
Why are they ditching X11 Nano already? I don't know. Is it that
It's
a
it's
burden to
honestly
maintain?
the way it's being rolled out. Too early in my opinion. It's almost like taking Linux 5 years backwards, or longer backwards, and starting over. Like, I mean,
Ubuntu did another strange thing. They required for RISC-V machines the RVA23 profile to be available to run their Ubuntu stuff. But there is not a single of those machines in hardware available until now. You can run the current RISC-V Ubuntu only in emulators.
I see. Mhm.
yeah.
Prepping for the future. So the question
Too early, I guess, because
is that a
now
future that we want to
they're
go?
trying all to build this RVA23 hardware, but it's kind of not so easy and not so fast. It takes the time in the
Right.
hardware
Right.
industry.
Yes.
It's not like you do it tomorrow if you define it today.
That is true. Okay, shall we switch gears and have a look at what has been going on in the last 4 weeks in the Gershwin project?
Yeah, well, go on.
So what I suggest is I made a couple of screenshots here to show you some stuff. Joe, please jump in at any time. And also, if you want to show something live, just let me know and I pause. And if you have questions, please interrupt directly so that we can discuss them as you have them.
Okay, however you want to do it. If you also just want to go through the slides quickly and stop me if you want me to show a specific thing, or just want me to give a quick 5-minute demo or something at the end, I can do it that way.
All right, let's do that then. So everything I'm showing here is really a collaboration between Joe and myself. So, and of course, there are areas where Joe worked more on and other areas where I worked more on, but it's really been a very, I think, productive month. So this time
Yes,
we
it
had to
has.
write some stuff down so that we don't forget half of it. Let me begin with some design ideas and design decisions, because design to us is not just how it looks. Design is really how it works. And our objective with the Gershwin project is to make something that is familiar and welcoming to switchers from other operating systems. And yeah, the first point is really coming from other desktop environments where a theme usually is just a collection of colors and backgrounds and stuff like that. Themes in GNUstep are way, way more powerful because they can really change not just the look, but also the feel, how it works. That was a big discovery for me. Yeah? So, for example, you can change in the theme whether you have Next style menus or Apple style menus or Windows style menus, with all the behavior that comes with that. And that is incredibly powerful. So we have been working on one theme now that we are calling Eau, which is French for aqua, which is Italian for water. The look and feel that you will see is still in the early stages. So please don't judge us yet on the pixels that you're seeing here. We are really just getting started on the theming aspect. Of course, right now we have to start somewhere. So the O theme it is we are working on now, but of course all the theming that GNUstep allows, we want to support. So there might be completely different themes also for Gershwin in the future that not just change the colors and backgrounds, but also the behavior. We are designing with the idea in mind that you should be able to port existing applications from other operating systems rather easily, at least when it comes to the metrics, so the spacing of things and the size, how big is a button, how are the spaces apart, so that you don't have to redesign the whole application GUI when you're porting it. So we carefully are choosing the metrics, and yeah, the design system is built in a way that ideally you don't have to redesign your whole app as you bring it over to Gershwin. One thing I found a bit surprising, I found now no immediate, but I didn't search so long. I found no immediate solution or setting to change whether the scroll bar arrows are on either side of the scroll bar or both are on the same side of the scroll bar. So if anyone here knows about this, how to do that. All right, so design not final. With that being said, let's have a look. First of all, fonts. We think fonts are really important. So Joe made a, I think, excellent design decision to make /system self-standing and to have everything related to Gershwin be installed in /system. So no littering around of files all over the file system, including stuff like fonts. So fonts go to /system /library/fonts. And there's, of course, also a local domain where the local administrator can install stuff. And there is, for the users, a domain where the user can install stuff.
Oh, quick correction. We should have made that local library fonts there in the slide because everything
Oh,
is hooked
yes,
under
that is
library.
a mistake on the slide. That should be local library fonts, indeed.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
catch that earlier.
Yeah. Sorry, my mistake. Also, we put a bit of effort into choosing reasonable default fonts that ship with the system. So we are now using Inter as the system font, mainly because due to technical reasons. It has special symbols like command, option, stuff we need for the menus. But it also has a large international character set, which cannot set for all fonts, unfortunately. A close-up runner is Luxi Sans, which is from the same designer and actually is quite similar to what ships with other operating systems, with Lucida Grande. That's the same designer there. And we also ship the core 35 PostScript font equivalent, so your Helvetica-like and Times New Roman-like fonts are also in there, albeit under different names. So, basics first, window management. What are we doing with window management? Our windows have a resize handle, which is large enough not to miss. So at the bottom right, there is a square now. For now, it's just a blue square because it still needs design, but no more fiddly pointing to the edges on 1 pixel wide decorations or something like that. We now have a resize square at the bottom right of the window. And here is the big one. We have started out by taking, I think it's pronounced Euros WM, not sure, plus XCB kit, and started work on top of that. And we call that Window Manager app now, because it is a full-fledged GNUstep application that at the same time is the X11 window manager. And we are working with X11 because some key functionalities, we know how to do that stuff with X11, but we don't know, or maybe even it would only be possible in Wayland by writing a whole compositor ourselves, which is a huge task, and we didn't feel up for that so far. So this is X11 based right now, but if anyone is interested in writing this feature equivalent for Wayland, please talk to us. The idea here is to take the GNUstep theme and use that to render the window decorations. So ideally, we make this fully theme agnostic. Right now, it is working for the O theme, which we are using, but simply because we have developed against that and tested against that so far, we haven't really looked into how to make it fully theme agnostic, but that's definitely an objective.
One thing to quickly add, I won't hijack much, but it also draws an NS window frame for every X11 app and parents that window in that frame so that we can also do things in the future like actual native scroll bars as well. And get all those things from themes as well, in addition to just the title bar decorations.
So Joe has been working on making this a reality for really, really a long time. And just over the last few days, we also had a look at making it a compositor, meaning allowing for transparency, drop shadows, rounded corners, and all of that good stuff. And of course, the objective is to be fully X11 window manager standards compliant with ICCC WM and EWMH support, which we have been increasingly putting into the thing. Yeah, and one idea for the future is to also expose some of the X11 extensions that the XLibre project is working on. The first one and most obvious one being namespaces, which allow windows to be isolated from other windows for security critical windows or applications. So for example, if you're doing your banking, your online banking in a window, then it would probably be a good idea to isolate that window into its own X11 namespace. And so far, this basic functionality is available in XLibre, but it is not easily available via a user interface. And that's one idea we have to put that into Window Manager in the future. So if anyone is interested in that topic, then also please come talk to us. Next is the global menu. That is one of the core design elements of the whole system, is having the menu bar at the top, not just because that is familiar from other computers, but also mainly because it is, in our opinion, most ergonomical. There is something called Fitts law, which says that the borders of the screen essentially are indefinitely large because you can just use your mouse and go all the way up without targeting closely, and you will arrive there. Yeah. So as you can see, we have implemented a menu that looks quite familiar and welcoming, that also uses command for the shortcuts. So not control, where you need your pinky finger, but command. And we also made that switchable so that it works regardless of your actual keyboard hardware, whether it is a PC keyboard or an Apple keyboard. We always use the key left to the space bar as the command key. Now, of course, we didn't just want to limit this to GNUstep applications, but we also want existing non-GNUstep applications to run without changes and to use the global menu for those. In order to make that happen, we have to support at least 2.5 different protocols. One is called App Menu. Then there is one by Canonical, which is a slight extension there around the app menus. And then there, of course, GTK and GNOME 2 and 3 had done their own protocol entirely. So all of those are supported, meaning that you can now run applications such as Chrome, Chromium, GIMP, Visual Studio Code, and many more, and they should be using the global menu system. Unfortunately, this works over dbus. In general, we try to avoid dbus usage and use native GNUstep IPC, but since we want to be interoperable with existing applications without changing those existing applications, for the time being, we are using dbus. In theory, it would probably be possible to write also, at least for the GTK protocol, our own GTK plugins, which would then not use dbus, but send or export the menu items using native IPC, but that hasn't been investigated yet. So the whole dbus support in the system, except for the global menu, is optional at compile time, but there are a few exceptions where we selectively use dbus, and maybe one time we might even think about writing our own little tiny dbus daemon to replace the big official one. Yeah, also with that goes caching for performance, and we did a lot of work to prevent flickering when you switch from one window to the other, because then usually all the menus get exported again, and to make this really smooth and yeah, nice experience. This is ongoing work, but I think over the last 4 weeks, really a lot has improved in this area. Yeah, right now, just to make everything consistent, we are using dbus-kit to also export the menu of GNUstep applications in the same way. In the future, we would like to not do that anymore, but of course use native IPC there. Should be doable, we just didn't have the time to do that yet. That's it for the global menu. And you interrupt me immediately when you have questions, right? There is one more thing regarding the menu. For me, that's an absolute superpower, and that is the possibility to search in the menu. We haven't really hooked that up in a graphically nice way yet, but technically it's already there, allowing you to drive large menus from your keyboard. Imagine doing graphics editing in something like the GIMP, where there are hundreds of menus and submenus, and you know you want blur, but you don't exactly remember where in the menu that is. This search makes it very fast to get there. Now comes one topic where I'm really surprised that most graphical desktops get this so utterly wrong, and that is what to do with raw binaries, for example, ELF files on Linux. So on many systems, these are really poorly integrated in the file manager. If you want to execute them and they are missing the executable bit, then you get a dialog saying this file format is not recognizable. Do you want to open it in your text editor and stuff like that? That is absolutely not helpful. And if you manage to get them running and, for example, the application can't really execute or be fully launched due to missing libraries or whatever, then the errors go to standard error on the console, only that there is no console when you double click a file in the file manager. So that's something we really thought about, and yeah, we are doing what we think is the sensible thing. If you download an ELF file and you double click it in the file manager and it is missing the executable bit, then we just ask the user whether the user wants to trust the application, make it executable, and run it. In case the application then can't run or produces errors or exits with a fail exit code within the first few seconds, we collect all the error messages from standard error and show the relevant top 5 and last 10 lines that the application has produced.
You could include a text field there, and the user could then copy it out and send it to the developer of the app or something like that. At least the text should be copyable.
I think the text is copyable, but that's an excellent point. I will check that to make sure that it really is. I mean, it would be imaginable to also have something to send messages back, but then the question is, where do you send them? So we would need to think about some infrastructure for setting up email addresses in the plist files. So there could be ideas around that, but then again, do people really want that, given that you don't want to be tracked and most users don't like telemetry and stuff like that? But
Yeah,
maybe,
they don't like, but if it's optional and if there's a button, you could copy it or something like that. That would, at least if they want to do a bug report at GitHub or somewhere, they also would need that text, I think.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a
We
very good
wouldn't,
point.
we wouldn't need to make a
Well,
telemetry solution like Apple has or somebody.
yeah, I think, you know, like a copy button in some form would make it obvious from a UX perspective that it is copyable, or, you know, like an extra frame there with the actual application error text would make it more obvious, like Windows Event Viewer. When you're in the event viewer, you see an event. There's clearly a copy button there where you can copy that text.
Yeah, just for clarity, so far what I'm showing here is just for raw ELF files. So I'm not talking about .app bundles here. This is really just to make sure that some raw executables that you get from wherever that are not Gershwin specific or GNUstep specific, you at least have a chance to see their errors when you double click them and they don't run. Coming to the next topic then, system preferences. We put in let's say the minimum amount, the minimal viable set of system preferences to be kind of daily drivable on our development system, which is at the moment a Raspberry Pi 5 and 500 plus running Debian, which is a Debian variant without systemd, just because that is our preference. Ideally, we would love to run FreeBSD on the Raspberry 5 or 500 plus, but that doesn't run yet. So for now, we are using that as our main driver. But everything that I'm going to show is coded, of course, to be agnostic. So we have a clear front-end, back-end separation so that additional backends will be made over the coming weeks and months. Starting with sound. So you have the ability to switch inputs and outputs, set the volume, do the muting and all of that. And by the way, no, this is not the reason why I'm using a secondary dial-in here for my audio. That stuff is actually working. My Jitsi topic is unrelated to that. So that already works with ALSA. So we are using pure ALSA, not Pulse Audio or anything like that, because it adds lots of complexity and latency, which we don't want. And next will be OSS for FreeBSD, and additional ones can be written. Next up is network. This is for wired and wireless networks. Again, here, modular backends clearly separated from the user interface. Right now, this is using Network Manager, but here FreeBSD is also the next one where we want to write a backend for. This can show your wireless LANs. You can select them, you can double-click them, then it asks for a password. You can join wireless LANs, switch on and off, do DHCP, set your IP addresses, and so on. Next one is printers. So I happen to have a printer that is that comes with all the necessary IPP something standards, so that I just switch that on and I can print without needing any such interface. But not everyone is so lucky. So we have an interface here that can discover printers on the network, and then you can set them up. Or if your printer is not auto-discoverable, you can also enter them the details manually. This works with cups, and yeah, so I've printed at least a page with it, so it starts working. It is starting to work. Next is keyboard. This is very important, especially for our international colleagues here. I'm personally coming from Germany, where we have special characters on the keyboard and some keys are flipped as opposed to the US keyboard. So getting this right early was very important for me personally. And also, you see there is a checkbox for Apple keyboard. That is what I mentioned in the beginning. We want to make it so that always, regardless of whether you have an Apple keyboard or a PC keyboard, always the key left to the space bar is the command key, to just have always the same feel when you type on the keyboard, regardless of what is actually printed on the keys physically. Then global shortcuts allows you, the name says it all, to configure easily your own global shortcuts, which are called when, or the commands are called whenever the key combination is pressed. And this is the pref pane for it. We used to have a separate daemon that runs in the background for those global shortcuts, but as we want to cut down on the number of processes running on the system, we integrated that functionality now natively into Workspace, so no extra daemon is needed anymore. And finally, we also reorganized the system preferences a little bit to make it a bit more familiar and easier to find. There's also a search bar up there. And please don't judge us on the icons. We are absolutely aware that these are terrible placeholder icons. And if anyone is interested and capable of doing great icon design, please also let that be known, because we want to change those rather sooner than later. That's it for system preferences, bringing me to the next topic, which is utilities. Utilities are smaller applications. I think in GNUstep you don't have this separation. Traditionally, everything is just in applications. But utilities, you know it from other operating systems, are smaller applications that don't really serve a business purpose, but are more or less supporting helpers. Stuff like screenshot. So we have a screenshot utility now where you can screenshot the window or an area or the full screen.
I think it's important to note that doesn't use a stroke or anything. It actually uses X11, so there's no third. We're not abstracting it to a third-party tool. He's using real APIs.
Yeah, exactly. That comes back to what I said initially, that we try to make the system self-contained within /system, and we of course want to cut down on the number of command line tools that would need to be installed in the operating system. Therefore, whenever there is a way to do it without command line tools from the operating system, then we try to use that way. Then, network browser. Personally, I absolutely hate to have to type in IP addresses or host names. I mean, host names are still okay most of the time, as long as they are reasonable, but IP addresses, I never can remember and don't want to remember those. So having something where you can see which services are on the network is, I think, very important. And luckily, there is an awesome standard for that, DNSSD, also known as Bonjour. And we're using that to browse the system. This is then also used to do things with the discovered services, for example, to log in graphically on other systems with VNC, which is, for example, pre-installed on all Macs, or RDP, which is pre-installed, I think, on all or most, I don't know about home, but most Windows versions, it should be installed. For the Mac, it really works like shown here on the screenshot. You see the devices on the network and just double click or click on connect, and then it asks for your username and password and you are in. And so far I didn't find a way to do the same for Windows RDP because I couldn't figure out how they're announcing themselves on the network. So right now for that you would have to type in a host name or IP address, which I really don't like. So if anyone knows how that works on Windows or is supposed to work, then please let me know. Now, coming to the big one, G Workspace, or as we now call it, just Workspace. In general, we try to upstream everything and to not do our own forks of, for example, the libraries, libspace, libsgui, etc. For workspace, this is different because here we don't have a system library, but really an application, and an application at that we want to heavily redesign and heavily modify. So to the point that it might become unrecognizable. And trying to upstream that, I could imagine, could meet quite some resistance. So that is the reason why we renamed that. And yeah, depending on what people say, how people like it, of course, we would be open to upstreaming the whole thing then in the end again. But for now, this lives as its private fork. Again,
But it's
here,
public. It's a public fork.
public fork.
Private fork.
I mean, with private, I mean in the GNUstep project, which is open source and public, of course.
Okay.
So again, here the idea is to be familiar to switchers, and that to me doesn't mean every pixel needs to be at the familiar locations, but it means that if I press certain key combinations or go to certain menus, I have certain expectations where things are, how things work, because my muscle memory has been built up over years, if not decades. And yeah, we are trying to really give a familiar home to those people switching over to our system. Then next topic is disk image support. Disk images like ISO, DMG, but also archives like zip, tar, gc, and stuff like that. Those can be mounted. We are using Fuse for that, and there are existing Fuse backends for various image formats, which are now integrated into Workspace graphically, and also some little touches like the trash becomes an eject icon when you start dragging a disk there. What we don't have yet, that was a question earlier today, is disk burning. I'm not even aware whether people still burn disks nowadays, but if there is interest, that could be an area worth exploring in the future. Then the dock. We put in support here for non-GNUstep X11 applications, as long as they are contained in a minimal .app wrapper bundle. We can now manage those as well, meaning detect when they are starting to launch, when the launch is complete because the first window shows up, and so on. And we also use that capability to do a little jump animation while the application launches until it shows its first window. Network integration. Given that we now can do MDNS SD and can discover services, of course, the next logical step which we have implemented is to bring that into Workspace, so that if you press Command-Shift-N, which might be familiar to some of you, then you will get a Workspace window that lets you browse the services on your network and just double-click them and then connect via currently SFTP, possibly WebDAV, but this is not tested yet, and in the future possibly additional protocols. And in case you want to access services outside of your own network, that is also possible by entering an SFTP URL there. And then the thing is mounted and shown on your desktop like a local disk. Oh, I think that we already covered. Next one is integration with browsers. If you download something, then you can use the show in file system browser icon there, which is marked in red. This is the example from Chrome, but most browsers have this functionality. And if you click there, then the workspace window in which this file is opens, and It is also scrolling to the location inside the window where this file is, and the file is activated. This also requires dbus, and dbus is optional at compile time. So if you don't want dbus, you simply can choose not to compile it in, but then you don't have this functionality. Because we, of course, don't want to have this just for GNUstep applications, but for Chrome, Firefox, and so on. Yeah, and finally, we bring back spatial mode. If you are unaware, what is even spatial? If you have some time and are interested in this topic, I can highly recommend that you search for Siracusa Spatial. There is a long article or multiple long articles on this design philosophy, which essentially says that the way our brain works is that everything has a location, one location in space. So every physical object can only be in one place at a time. So if you have, for example, let's say a pen. This pen can either be on your desk or it can be in your drawer, but it cannot be at the same time on your desk and in your drawer. And this is the idea to do this spatial orientation, which our brains are trained on from nature, over thousands and thousands of years, and to apply that to the desktop, meaning every file is in one window. The window represents one location in the file system, and no matter how often you try to open a new window for the same location, you always get the same window. And this window has a position on screen, so coordinates. It opens always at the same coordinates. It opens always with the same size. And also the items inside the window remember their location, their coordinates, their size, their sorting order, stuff like that. And that is something, by the way, which so far most, if not all, open source file managers don't fully support. So here we are aiming for full interoperability. If you have some Macs in your network, you maybe have seen those .ds_store files. These store exactly the metadata needed for this. Unfortunately, the file format has no official spec, but luckily it has been well documented by third parties with publicly available information. So we use that to do a clean room parser for those ds_store files, with the idea that when you put a file at a certain location on Gershwin, and then you look at that same on a network share, for example, from your Mac, then it just works and is at the same location, the window has the same size, and so on. And that also means that things like DMGs, Mac users will know this, when you have a disk image that contains an application, and sometimes this has nice backgrounds with arrows telling you what to put where. So all of that stuff we can now also support. There is also something for the developer experience, so to say. So our quality of life, we have a little helper tool, command line tool that updates the info GNUstep plist automatically with build dates and git hashes. We have hooked that into our GNUstep build scripts so that whenever, for example, we do builds on CI, then the git hash and build time gets automatically put into the plist, which means it is then also in the about dialog of applications. Another little command line tool is called app wrap, which, as the name suggests, creates .app wrappers for non-GNUstep applications. Like I mentioned earlier, we have support for X11 applications in the dock, but that requires the application to be wrapped inside a .app wrapper. This is fully automatic, so We could even imagine that we monitor the system for incoming .desktop files and then automatically convert them into .app bundles using app wrap. That is not implemented yet, but that would be actually quite easy to do. Then, in order to be able to do testing, I started to write a little testing framework, similar to, if you are aware how web development is usually being tested. There are testing tools like Selenium, where you can write GUI tests that click through web pages and wait for certain texts to appear and then enter something into text boxes and stuff like that. And yeah, I started to write something for Workspace, but actually, I'm asking you here. I would imagine that probably someone has done that properly already, and I should probably just reuse something that exists somewhere. So if you know something in this area, please let me know. Right now, I've just hacked this into Workspace for now to facilitate development in Workspace. But that's obviously not the way to go. At least it should be application independent.
Pro bono, are you aware of Etoile?
Yes.
They had some testing stuff in there, like reflection from frameworks and things like that. Maybe you could use this for your testing approach, that you do reflection and then you see which methods are there, and then you can generate unit testing code automatically.
That sounds exciting. I will check that out for sure. Yeah, right
It's no
now.
longer maintained, but should still compile, I think. And if all breaks down, you can always contact the Raven. What was his name? David Chisnell. He was involved with
Yes,
Italy.
I've noted that down. Thank you. So that's basically it. A few learnings. As you know, 5 years ago, I played around with GNUstep a bit with a little free BSD-based live CD called GNUstep, where I just tried out how to do stuff, and then came to the conclusion that my skills were at that point not up to the task to make what I want to make with GNUstep. But actually, that has changed totally now. So I am now fully convinced that not only can GNUstep do the job, it actually does it best. And I can say that because I have done kind of a similar exercise before with Qt. And I like that actually quite a lot. But I have to say now I like GNUstep much better even. And that says something. And it's really fun to hack on. You constantly have, you see that the way the whole frameworks are designed, the system is designed, it makes it easy to hook in, to customize, to get done what you want to do and not feel restricted by decisions that someone has made somewhere, where it always feels like you're working more against the system. You don't get this feeling here. So here, whatever you imagine, you usually can do. And that is fun to hack on. Also, Joe and we discovered, I say discovered, yeah, we didn't design it so much, but we discovered some useful patterns that have proven so far to be really, really useful. For example, as mentioned before, having everything in just one directory, that makes it easy. If something goes wrong, you just delete that one directory and reinstall it, and you're up and running again. Also makes updates very easy. Should also make it very easy for deploying the Gershwin desktop on top of all kinds of operating systems. For that, we also want to, as mentioned before, to avoid hard dependencies on things outside of that system directory. So, for example, if a tool, a command line tool from the system, from the operating system, is used for a function, then we bring up a informative dialog saying you need to install this and that tool in order to use this function. And ideally, we also even give concrete command to install that. We also make sure not to assume either Linux or FreeBSD or any operating for this matter. So we are frequently switching our development computers. Right now, we are running on Linux on a Raspberry Pi on ARM, but the next thing is FreeBSD on Intel again, and we are switching constantly back and forth between those to avoid any hard dependencies or Linuxisms or FreeBSD isms to creep in. And we want to upstream any changes in the GNUstep core libraries like libscore, libsgui, etc. Again, by the way, how the system is built, we see that we can do a lot of stuff without changing those with Swizzling and the theming. This gives us so much power and flexibility that actually, even though we have a clear way how we want things to work and look, oftentimes we can achieve that without making any changes in those core libraries. So hopefully we will only need to make very small commits to those core libraries. And when we need them, we do them upstream. So we open pull requests. And finally, simplicity wins, which means that we want to avoid freedesktop.org XTG standards because they drive essentially all of the open source desktop environments so far, making them work all in the same way. They have different front ends on top of it, but how it gets decided which application opens which file and how you communicate certain things back and forth in the system is all defined by XTG standards, and some of them we think are not up to the task and are holding back actually the user experience. So we avoid them, and simplicity wins. So that is our motto here. Now is the point where I would like to say that none of this would be possible without GNUstep, which I fully realize has a long history, decades-long history, predates most of what people know from Linux desktops. And yeah, I would really like to say a big thank you to all of you here. And there is one last thing, but that I leave to you, Joe, to present. If you're still there.
Sure. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Allow to share window. Can everybody see my window?
No, not yet.
Oh, here we go. Hang on, sorry. Why is it not allowing me to select it? I'm sorry. All right, I may just have to share the entire screen. 1 minute. Jitsi acting up here. Start screen sharing. Yeah, oddly enough, I don't know why it's not letting me share a window. So, share screen. Share entire screen.
There we see it.
Here we go.
All right, so apologies for the other distractions on my screen. I wanted to isolate it here so we could focus, but so I've exported it into my Raspberry Pi, and this is our login window, which you have the login, restart, the shutdown, native login manager. And then this logs us into the workspace. And pull that up. And I go to my user. I have a couple of local app wrappers that I installed in my user domain. So I can open Falcon. And you got the dock integration, all these different things. Basically, what else? Just gonna show. Got the highlightable menus here. Can make new folders now with the context menu that Pro Bono was talking about. You can drag things to trash. That's always worked, but let me show something else I've been specifically working on. I'm just using exporting to show all this off today because I wouldn't be able to show you the login manager otherwise. But so here I have something I kicked off before the end of the year. I was looking at, well, first to give some background, I was looking at the web CEF thing that Greg did, and I was looking at WebKit. I was looking at other options, and I was sharing some ideas with colleagues, and everybody kind of came to the same conclusion as far as having an open and free browser solution that Lady Bird is might be a better bet as far as something that's a truly independent web browser in the future. And I've looked at it before and noted they were using AppKit and other components to build a browser, and I thought about it, and I was like, well, why can't I port this app to also make it work on GNUstep? So I started investigating that, and it was actually surprisingly easy to pull it off. And here I have it here on the Gershwin X11, but I have it here on the Mac, also locally built. It has all the same menus. I did not hard code any of this. This is all native. This toolbar, I'm using NS toolbar from GNUstep. The tab view, I'm using NS tab view to generate tabs, and I can actually open wait, I might have misspelled it, sorry. Developer.org. So I can open that, and I can create a new tab, just like I have a new tab button here. And I can go to Google. It should render. It's early stuff, so apologies if a little buggy, but yeah, there we go. So it's just about as functional as the Macintosh application at this point. I'd say it's using about 80% of the same APIs, and I'm 20% of making conditionals to do things differently with GNUstep. And so far, the developers, as I've been talking to them, at least one of the maintainers that works on the project thinks I can do some polish up and probably contribute this and get this into the project officially, so that hopefully as they move into beta status, we'll have a native GNUstep web browser. Really sure what else I should just show off here. I think I showed off the menus already. You see close tab works, new tab works. So yeah, that's it. Really excited about this. But, anything else you want me to show off pro bono?
Yeah, maybe just respond to questions by showing the respective area. So anyone, do you have questions or would like to see some areas that we had covered briefly before?
I'm speechless.
This is great work you've done.
Thank
And
you.
I appreciate it very much because there were so many attempts of creating a GNUstep-based desktop now, and they all have given up at some point.
I would have to reiterate what pro bono said as well, that none of this would be possible without the absolutely fantastic work and design that Greg and Richard and all of you guys have been doing on these core lives.
One little nitpick, the shelf, or what it was called, should maybe go from the top of the window to the left side.
Oh, you mean like,
in the long run, like it's in most other operating systems.
Definitely.
Where your J Meloni folder sits
yeah.
should be on the side, I would say.
We've
There are
actually had
many
a topic
areas.
about that in our GitHub discussions that's came back alive recently, and I think pro bono is ready to take
Or
that
make
on.
it configurable, maybe. I don't know. But too much configurability is not good.
Maybe you show around a bit how the menus are now arranged and what
Do
we
you
have.
have these Miller columns?
Sure, we have.
Yeah, just same. Wait, sorry, columns.
Yeah, okay,
We
nice.
also have where's the spatial thing that I restored?
It is view behavior, and there is a
There.
bug. It doesn't show the dropdown at the correct location yet. Yeah, there you go to
Set
special.
browsing as default or set special as default. So that'll make all new windows open that way. So see, folder. Oh, that's not working. Hopefully I didn't lock myself up.
And that is a slightly older build still, so a lot has changed in this area in the last 48 hours. So
Yes.
it already looks much different now.
But you can see
Ah, nice.
each new folder opens a new window, and we're working on making the positioning be remembered and be able to move things around. And
On the Mac,
so-
it was in the Mac OS 9, it was like this. If you had Windows open like that, then you opened another window as a list view, and you turned the little arrows around so the default opens this window closed.
and just to show
It
you,
was-
like system, application, core
We
services.
have some of that. So, for example, if you have mounted a removable drive on your desktop and you eject it by whatever means, for example, by dragging it to the trash or using the new right-click context menu, then if any windows are open that refer to that drive, they all close automatically.
I guess since I have my other system up, I could probably show you something else. Let's see. That's because I have login window running, of course. Just gonna reboot this one to make it easy. But so another thing is while waiting on that, the window manager is an actual AppKit app now that was basically unlocked the ability to decorate apps with actual GNUstep core library methods. So like we can switch themes and all the decorations will follow that theme. It's not the window manager really hard coding anything or dictating anything. It's getting that all from GNUstep theme. And since this is an NS window frame, that we even when we use X11 apps, we should be able to make scroll bars work as well for non-GNUstep apps. And then some of the applications here will be moving to the core services thing, and then we'll just have terminal, text edit, or user-facing things here in system applications and utilities. I don't have a lot installed on this one because I just kind of recently installed things, but using the app wrap tool, if you install an application, it'll just spit out an app bundle here. So I don't know what I have installed. App wrap, then user share applications, then desktop, and then boom, I have an app, and then you can launch that app. Ah! Yeah, it looks like it's going to launch. I don't know what's wrong with that one, but it usually works. But that's the process of generating an app bundle. That's usually pretty simple. And here I'm going to connect to my FreeBSD system now. So again, kind of a slightly different, slightly older install, but it just shows where we're following a domain model now that has, we have local things that are local to the local machine, and we have network things, so you can have network applications. And this is actually a network user, meaning I can log in from other machines and have all my data, all my settings, like a roaming profile. And and in the future here, I'll be able to launch applications that are on a network server from all my systems, and not have to install them multiple times. I think that's kind of all I had to go over. Does anyone have anything else they want to see or show off? Questions? All right.
Not I would take over the screen real quick again to just give everyone, and also for the people watching this maybe in the recording, a chance to get your hands on it. So where do you get this stuff from? We are generating live ISOs. These are currently not for general consumption, so I also didn't put in the link here because ideally you contact us when you start testing, so that if you run into unexpected situations or find something, we can fix that. These are again not for general consumption. These are for developers and testers. Currently, we are doing Debian-based ones for Intel and ARM. And we used to also do Arch-based Intel and ARM, but since a few days something broke on the Arch side there, so currently these are not building. And we also have a nice, actually quite short script on how to install the thing on a Raspberry Pi 5 or 500. I see no reason why it wouldn't also run on other models of the Raspberry Pi, but I have to say on the Pi 5, the performance is really very good. And as you saw from what Joe just showed us, and as a matter of fact, also this system here that I have been using all the time is running on the Raspberry Pi 5 on this system. So yeah, if you would like to see more or try it out, you find us on Gershwin-desktop on GitHub, and also there is an IRC channel, #Gershwin on Libra chat.
And I probably should have showed it off before I had you take over, but Gershwin build is also available there, where you can just clone a repo, run a script to check out repos, run a script to bootstrap. If you have Debian, Debian, Artix, Arch Linux, FreeBSD, or GhostBSD, it'll grab all the right packages needed to build, and then you can just run sudo make install or sudo make uninstall, run checkout.sh again, and run sudo make install to install updates. It makes the process, very easy to install once or continually update the same system. And it can build in just a few minutes on even low spec hardware.
Yeah, this is a bit broken here. As you can see, I tried to get the scroll arrows at the top and at the bottom, but I messed up there a bit. So let's see, where do we have Gershwin build? Here it is. So essentially, if you check out Gershwin build, this builds the whole system. You and it's described obviously in the README, you just run what is first bootstrap, then the checkout, and then the install system domain scripts, and then you have a fully populated /system directory.
Sudo make uninstall just runs that script, yeah.
Sudo
Make
right.
install. Sudo make install.
Yeah, maybe just show you the ISO mounting, and obviously we don't have nice icons yet everywhere. So if I have, let's say, a ISO, do I have one? Or an archive, a zip? Here I have a zip. Just double click that zip and it should. Normally it does. Yeah, and it opens. It's mounted. For ISO files, where do I have an ISO file? Do we see one? Let's take a DMG. So this is a DMG from the Mac, gets mounted. This is the background thing with the arrows, right? It also has an icon now here on the desktop. And if I want to eject this, then I just drag it. Well, then I just drag it here to the eject. That also works. And if I had open a window still, it would have been closed here. So essentially it behaves like you would expect it to behave. Menu structure, probably very familiar just to many of you. Also, if you look at the Go menu there,
Go to folder, go to connect to server. Yeah, nice.
you should
Yeah.
know that. And this is what I mean by muscle memory, right? So if I want to see my network, here you see my real network. I could now log into something via SFTP, let's say my Mac Mini, double click, asks for username and password. Here we go, there it's mounted. And what we see here, this is still a little work in progress, is what I described earlier, that it is now placing the icons at the same locations in the same size and so on as on the Mac. And obviously I broke something with the labels here, but it is starting to work. So more work on this is required.
What a nice idea in the end to put it on the folder itself, the name. Like it's written on it.
That would be something new, indeed. Instead of underneath.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff we think and we can do in themes. So right now what you're seeing is really made to be very familiar for switchers.
Yeah.
But we don't intend to keep it necessarily like this. We can also imagine to have a completely different theme with new stuff. And you just had one great idea that we should try. Yeah, and with that, I think we have shown the little bit we wanted to share today.
Can you post the link to the repo in the chat?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Coming.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us talk so much today.
Since I see Twilight Edge software here, thank you first of all for your nice comment. I'm not sure whether you were here in the beginning, at the very beginning, when we were covering a almost unnamed, because we wanted to leave that up to you, application that we have bundled as an app image. So yeah, if you would like to elaborate a bit on that topic, Twilight Edge software, please do. Because frankly, you did most of the work.
Twilight usually doesn't talk. He writes in the comments.
Okay, so yeah, to your question, I had talked about the possibility to bundle applications as one single file using the app image format. And I wanted it to leave up to you to really discuss which application and maybe to demonstrate or showcase it if you like. Or if you don't want to do that, then I'm sure you will find a time and way to communicate where that can be downloaded and so on. Okay, so I don't have the links offhand available right now, but maybe we can distribute them afterwards. Ah, there comes the link to the PicoPixel app image. Cool.
I have to take off here pretty quick, but thanks everyone, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Joe.
Happy New Year. Thank you for the presentation again. It was very interesting and seeing good progress there, what you do. I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to have it running one time at my computer.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We're all both excited about it as well. Well, see you guys.
See you. Bye.
Hey,
Bye bye. Everybody silenced?
So are there aspects where you think, when you think about a pre-designed desktop experience, where you say, that would be really cool to have, or where you maybe say in older versions of the common desktop operating systems, there was something that used to be better than it is today? Or do you have any such, everyone has these favorite areas, right? And I would be very interested in learning about these.
Well, I like the coming back of the spatial experience because I had this in macOS 9 or up to 9. That was the case. And in macOS 10, it kind of disappeared. You could have some special windows that behaved specially, but it was kind of strangely implemented.
Yeah, the theory says that you shouldn't mix spatial and browsing experiences at the same time because that is utterly confusing. Unfortunately, that's exactly what modern Finder does. So maybe we should really move the setting in which mode to operate into the pref panes somewhere and treat it as a system-wide setting the user makes essentially one time. I want to be either in this world or in the other world, but not decide window by window in which world you want to be.
Or if at least if it's decidable by window, then it should be very obvious in which mode you currently are, like a prominent toggle switch or something like that. I have no idea if this is ergonomic. I'm just letting my mind flow, thinking about the stuff.
Good point. That should be very obvious. I mean, there were things like brushed metal in the past. That was probably exactly for that reason to distinguish. Special, you don't have a brushed metal, otherwise you do. But maybe we can find something else to clearly visually distinguish which is which.
You know, in classic Mac OS, they had the thing in the upper right where you could, it would have the name of the active application. If you click on there, it would show all the other applications. I think that this was done in Hello System as well.
Yes.
That was pretty
Indeed.
neat. I like that.
Yeah, did you ever try macOS Server 1.0, 1.2 dot something? They was kind of like this looking.
Yeah. So that is the time when they ported the Platinum look and feel on top of,
Exactly.
and then for a while it looked kind of like classic, but not 100%. And then
Exactly.
Aqua. So that is something we should be entirely able to do with the theming. So far, I have not seen anything that would prevent us from doing that.
Would be interesting play to try this.
I've actually heard that from more than one side already that there would be interest in Platinum as opposed to Aqua.
Maybe it's a more far out goal to have, but at one point, I could imagine this.
But then also we want to go into new things as well. So our objective is not to just rehash
Yeah, I know. Of
20 or
course,
30
I
years ago.
understand that.
We do think that there were some concepts, even 40 years ago, when the first GUIs were made at Xerox PARC and with Andy Hertzfeld and so on, with the very first Lisas, Bill Atkinson. There was some thinking that got lost. And today, the tendency to have no menus anymore, put everything into various three dots or hamburger icons, things are not always just improving. So our objective is not necessarily to follow the latest trends everywhere, but at the same time, this is not a retro computing project. So, of course, improvements and new experiments we are totally open to and will make.
I think we should mix and match the stuff. Like it's makes sense in the end. That is consistent in the user and fear. And doesn't matter from which area, which feature origins. If it matches, it matches, I would say.
Yeah, so for me, a good test is to put someone in front of the system who is switching from somewhere else. Could be from Windows, could be from the Mac, could be from various versions of those systems. And if we can make something where you feel at home without it necessarily being very similar or the same, then I think we have achieved the goal. It's about feeling at home, using that muscle memory.
Yeah. So, Craig, what do you think?
You mean about making things for following the latest trends, I think that pro bono is right. Not everything new is always a good idea.
I think trends come and go, but there are better ones and worse ones. And somebody could come up with a timeless collection of features that just fit at each other.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, what you can also often observe is that something new gets introduced and then it is overdone, excessively done, like excessively shiny and glassy, and then they tone it back again over time. And this is a cycle that repeats. We don't have to do this because we are not producing a product that needs to look every year a bit new and shiny and fancy. That's not the objective, to have something that changes all the time just for the sake of change. So we are interested in actual UX principles coming from first principles, from insights, from user studies where it has been studied which way to do a menu is ergonomic, for example. So that is at least my view. And yes, I see here in the comment, I would totally agree. Everything should be, you shouldn't have to get where a function is. It should be visible. I think there is even a technical term, I think it's called affordability or affordances. Affordances, that's, I think, the term for that. Nowadays, in some apps, you have to hover over, you have to know where to go to see some buttons or something like that, or even the scroll bar. I think that is violating this principle, and hence, the idea is to bring everything that can be interacted with visibly on the screen.
Yeah, Richard said, or at least typed in the chat, he said there used to be a UI principle that every feature on an app should be reachable via a clear visual cue on the screen. In my opinion, that was correct. And we should not have apps that require you to click buttons without prompts or hover the mouse over areas before anything appears on the screen. I agree.
Exactly.
I do apologize for my relative silence on this particular call, guys. I've not been working very late lately for my day job, so I've been a little bit tired. Not asleep, but tired today. But yeah, let's see. I like I said, I've been working on a lot of the internals. Not necessarily anything flashy to show today. Twilight asks, oh yeah, he said, are you familiar with the classic macOS theming app Kaleidoscope? There's an archive of old school downloadable, old schemes, downloadable as stuff.it files. might be interesting to find a way to support them in Gershwin. I've seen that actually. Twilight. Yeah, it's kind of,
Indeed, I remember this vaguely that it exists, and I think was large, so had lots of themes. As of whether it is feasible, probably it might even be. As of whether it should be a goal to support those in the exact file format one-to-one, how much work that is, I don't know. But at least looking at them for inspiration and maybe draw from that, definitely.
I think definitely we could use them for some for some inspiration. I don't know if the themes themselves are usable. Yeah. Oh.
You're very welcome, Richard. And I hope we didn't bore everyone to sleep. It took
Mhm.
not through everything, but really the last 4 weeks it was going on like crazy here because one idea led to the next, and I definitely can say it was a lot of fun to happen and stuff, and was definitely experiencing what's called a flow experience.
Well, that's a good thing.
Well, I need to run. It was great seeing the demos from you, Pro Bono, and from Joe. Very exciting. I'll catch y'all on IRC.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
So Twilight Edge Software has posted a few posts up there that he has been experimenting also not only with PicoPixel but additional further GNUstep apps, for example Gminds, and there is also a link there if you would like to try that out. Okay, then there is a question, or what is it? Will the recording be posted online later?
Absolutely. I posted the other. Um, there were a few other ones that I had failed to upload because I think they were. I uploaded the last one, but I didn't upload the ones from previous meetings, and I went ahead and uploaded them so that people could have access to them. I don't know if they're done uploading it. They were rather sizable, or rather done processing.
Did you upload it to YouTube again?
Yes, that's where I'm going to be uploading everything into my channel.
Okay. And then I put it on the MediaWiki page again.
Yeah, I uploaded 2 additional ones. I think one was from November. No, actually, no, we didn't make one in November. I forgot to record. One was from October, and the other one was from September. So I think,
Very nice.
yeah,
You could add them then yourself there maybe if you want.
huh?
or send me the links.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you go to my channel on YouTube, you should be able to see them. There's nothing.
Okay. This is I posted the link to the monthly meetings page in the MetaWiki.
Okay, cool.
There are those links collected.
Very cool. Let me see.
Fred left and Richard left.
I didn't. Fred was here?
Fred was here, yeah, during the presentation. I have the users list open. Fred was here indeed. Didn't say a word.
Huh?
Didn't say a word.
Who? Oh, Fred didn't say a word.
Yeah, Fred didn't say a word.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to see if viewer channel. There we go. Yep. Nope. Videos. Well, it shows that the last two, the one from September and October, are both drafts at the moment. So I'm assuming they're not posted yet. I don't know why they wouldn't be.
Okay, guys, I need to run. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present here and for your valuable feedback. And I hope that we hear each other next month.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. And good work. Keep on.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day or evening. Thank you. Bye.
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 Yeah. Lars, I think I'm gonna disconnect as well. So.
Okay. Then see you in a month. And I hope we find some time to work on the installation scripts.
Yep. Absolutely. Well.
Would be great.
I promise I'll have more for you guys next month. This month, I had to concentrate on day job work.
Yeah, of course. Happens.
Okay. All right, guys.
Okay. Bye, Craig.
Later.